Managing a small team or business comes with a unique set of challenges. With limited resources and manpower, it's easy for things to feel chaotic and out of your control. How can you, as a leader, accomplish your goals while keeping your team engaged, effective, and accountable? This podcast will give you practical strategies you can implement now to lead your team or business to reach its fullest potential. Welcome to the Organizing Chaos podcast with your host, Danny Coleman.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Organizing Chaos, where we talk about small practical strategies for small teams and small businesses. And today I have two very cool guests that are going to be on the show today, talking about their business, CC My Admin, which is a business. Well, I'm going to let them talk more about it, but I got Liz Goddard on here. Liz, can you say hello?
Hello, Danny.
And then we've got Nicole Grinnell, who is also on.
Hi.
And we're going to talk a little bit about their business, which has a lot to do with something that I talk a lot about, which is delegating and outsourcing. And so, guys, go ahead and take it away and tell me how CC My Admin began, and then we're going to go from there.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, first and foremost. We're really excited to be able to be a part of your listeners. So we actually started, Liz and I worked in the corporate world together for about 6 years. We have different roles, but we kind of supported at the executive level, knew a lot about corporate structure. I was an executive assistant to one of the owners, and Liz was the director of HR. So we kind of had that going into each other. We worked a lot with each other, and those were kind of our backgrounds. Growing up, we also had similar backgrounds. We were both the daughters of serial entrepreneurs. My father owned a medical lab. Liz's father owned many different types of businesses. And so we kind of came from small business and went into corporate life and realized there was really a big disconnect between what corporations could afford and do and what small businesses need but couldn't afford. Mm-hmm. So flash forward, my executive decided to retire. I thought I would leave the workforce because I'm actually a mom and knew that I would kind of go back to doing that. And I thought, I've heard of this virtual assistant thing. I'm going to go ahead and try it, and I'm going to be a virtual assistant. Within about 30 days, I had more hours than I could even handle. And Liz was at a place in her life where she was thinking of breaking off, doing something different. And I told her, I said, I think we could do this together with your knowledge of HR, how much recruiting and hiring and the expensive employees. And with my side of the administration, I really think we can make a business out of this. So she came on board with us in December, and we have not looked back. We have just focused on small businesses and kind of trying to find something that is a supporting feature for small businesses that corporations are able to have because of their funding, but that small businesses are really lacking. So that's really kind of how it all eventually rolled into CC My Admin.
That is super cool. I mean, and I couldn't believe, Liz, I'm trying to remember, how did we get connected in the first place? It was something I put out on LinkedIn. Is that right?
Yeah, so you put out on LinkedIn, actually Nicole's husband, who's from Lawrenceburg, like Summertown area, right outside of Columbia, sent and said, hey, guys, I think you should, reach out. Seems like you guys have a lot in common. And so that's how we connected. And got really excited about the opportunity to come and speak with you and also share stories with your listeners. It was kind of seemed perfect. Yeah,
it did. So when we talked on the phone, it was just I was resonating so hard with everything that you were saying. It was just it was such an exciting conversation for me because every time I find people who kind of get what it is, I'm trying to help small businesses do, it helps me understand maybe how to better communicate it. But then it also, a connection like this is fantastic because I would want to send a lot of small business owners to you guys. And so tell me a little bit about and share with the audience a little bit about how exactly does CC My Admin work?
So it's interesting. Nicole mentioned, it started out as someone needing a virtual assistant. And as we started really researching what normal people would think about what a virtual assistant is and what they would handle, we realized that there's this huge disconnect of what they can really do. So most people, when they heard of a virtual assistant, they typically think overseas. They think only handling calls or answering emails or scheduling appointments, which is a huge need for small businesses. But as we start talking to more businesses and as we got more clients, it was we had this aha moment where we realized every small business really does need the structure, the sophistication of a corporation, but they can't afford it, and it needs to be flexible because they cannot be rigid of corporation. I mean, you talk to people who have grown businesses from a startup all the way to maybe have a successful exit, and you can, the way they talk about the younger years of their business was like, oh, it was so nimble and it was fun, but then as we got bigger, we had to create all these processes, and it became more structured, and it really limited our ability to serve the clients the way we needed to. And so Nicole and I just thought, why can't you have both? You know, why can't you have the quality talent that a large corporation can afford in a way that a small business needs that's flexible? And so we just set out to solve the problem, and we rolled our sleeves up, and we really decided what companies need. It's more than just an assistant. They need an operations team. Mm-hmm. But they don't need those operations people to be sitting in an office 8 hours a day and kind of like, you know, on Facebook or Candy Crush or whatever, because they don't have enough work to give them. And this is like fixed expense, and it's expensive to employ people. Mm-hmm. And so what we did is we took a little bit of that need. We like grabbed some of the, you know, the gig economy, right? Where people can work when they want, how they want on their own terms. Yeah. And we combined it and created this business. And so now a small business owner can have accounts receivable, accounts payable, and bookkeeping, a customer service support agent, executive admin, social media, but it's the cost of half an employee or an employee, or really whatever you need it to be, because you're using it as you need it and paying for it afterwards. And so that's kind of how it came. That's how we're servicing our clients. And I mean, I'm sure I'll just stop talking now because I get so geeked out and excited about it that I could go on and on and on, but I'll kick it back to you.
No, I mean, I could too. And so like I had to set the timer for this interview because I know that it could go for a while. I might even have you guys back to do a couple more, because I think that what we do fits so well together. So what you hit on here, which is something that I try to drive home as well, is like there is a sweet spot between the corporate structure and the organization that exists there, and then the flexibility and, you know, without, for lack of a better word, fun that a smaller business can be. So, you know, small businesses tend to be, you know, overly laid back, or they're chaotic, right? Because of the lack of structure, lack of processes, systems, clear outlines for who's responsible for what, clear outlines for like who's in charge of who's accountable to who, having regular meetings. Those are all things that small businesses tend to avoid or shy away from, because to them, that seems to represent the corporate life that a lot of small business owners left. Like they wanted to get away from that. But then in the corporate world, you know, to me, a lot of it is very soulless, or it's very wasteful. It's terribly inefficient. The last corporate job that I had, I was getting paid at the time, you know, I was pretty stoked about it. It was like $18 an hour. And I was just like managing 2 spreadsheets and putting binders together. And it was because the trainers that I was working, or that I was helping, they were to help, didn't have the time to do these things. And I would be like working, and I'm sitting there watching them like have hour-long conversations. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, this is just so wasteful, you know? Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, yeah. So it's like, it's this finding this balance, I think, is really what it's all about. So a small business owner that can figure out how to find this balance is really, and start to delegate and start to get a little bit more organized, is going to be able to kind of find that sweet spot. So what kind of conversations do you guys have with small business owners? What are the objections or the concerns that they bring to you guys when they're looking at, you know, doing this, delegating and outsourcing some work?
Well, I think the number one concern is going to be, how do I know they're working? Don't I need someone right outside of my door? And honestly, a lot of times as small business owners, we have to constantly challenge ourselves. It's like delegating, because we think that we're the only ones who can do it. And the reality is that's what's going to limit your business the most. Yeah. So I would say the biggest concerns are really, how do I know they're working? And really, can I really do it virtually? And so we have to help them overcome that. And then we have to teach them to delegate, because so often some people have some amazing ideas and they've grown this business to their credit in amazing ways, but they cap themselves. And so we kind of help them say like, well, what about this piece? What if we just outsource this? It would open your mind up to create, to service clients better, to go get more clients. And then they start getting it, and it clicks, and then they add more roles. And all of a sudden we've got, you know, 6 people working for them at different rates, different times a day. And now they've just could expand their business so much quicker than they ever thought they could want to be able to.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, like, so you kind of hit on it. I want to ask you to go a little further into it. So how are you helping them overcome those objections? Like to being afraid of outsourcing something, or not having someone right outside their door, or not being 100% certain if they're working, all the time or whatever.
Well, one is we use technology. So our virtual assistants are going to be logging into a software platform, and they're going to be like logging all of their time. But before they can log out, they have to list everything they've done. So not only does it say the day they worked, the time they clocked in, the time they clocked out, it also gives a detailed list of every single thing they did during that time. And we do that for two reasons. One, it's to give peace of mind. But two, when we send out our invoices, it's an opportunity for the client and our team to look at it and say, are we performing as efficiently as possible? Because a client may think that sending out emails should take 30 minutes, but it really takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
But they've now undervalued that task because they think, well, no, it should only take 30 minutes. But reality, it's 4. Or on the flip side, it really should take 30 minutes. And we say, okay, well, let's train, because there's an inefficiency there. Mm-hmm. And that's what our internal team does, is we connect the virtual assistant and the employer, or the owner. And we say, how do we best utilize your team and the workload? So that's how we jump that hurdle.
Gotcha. What about so one thing that I've always had difficulty with, no matter where I worked, either as an employee or even now as a consultant, is helping people to understand the ROI of efficiencies like this. So, lots of times, maybe best case scenario, you're able to, you can ask the owner, hey, how are you feeling about things now? Like, oh, I have so much more time now. That's one way to do it. But I guess, do you guys have any other ways that you try to show people, look at what you're getting, as an ROI on this?
Yeah. And it's funny. Some clients understand that better than others. I mean, any service-based client, like a CPA or an attorney, they understand the value of their time because they're billing it, right?
Yeah.
So if I say, if you're not billing the hour you just were answering emails, how much could you have made? Well, I could have made $135. Well, great. So you should pay someone probably $30 an hour, because what we try to teach them is, when you are doing the work that you could outsource, you're paying yourself that much. You are valuing yourself at that rate. However, if you focus on those higher value tasks and get more client, now you're paying yourself $200, $300 an hour. And so it's educating them on that. And sometimes it's having them understand and break down their day so we can help assign a number to that hour for them.
That's huge. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, keep going.
Well, but it's also important to know, they know their business so much better than we do. So It's not like we can show up first day and tell you, but we ask probing questions so they can understand, wow, you're right. If I did stop doing my own bookkeeping, I probably could I'd go to a networking meeting, right? Or something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that's something I'm gonna steal from you. Is I have a hard time with that, because a lot of small business owners aren't really paying themselves anything irregular. They'll probably just take from the business as they need, just to cover bills or whatever. Or if they are paying themselves, they've not maybe thought about, what does my hourly rate break down to, and then swapping that out, like you said, $130 an hour, pay someone else $30 an hour to do it. Yeah, okay, that's huge. So what about then on the flip side of this? What's the feedback that you're getting from the people who you place with these entrepreneurs? Because I know that what can be difficult when you're working with contract type positions, or someone who's not a bona fide part of your team, they're there all the time, you guys have lots of face from or whatever, there can be a breakdown in culture or in communication. So what's the feedback that you're getting, I guess, mostly from the people who you send out, but then I guess if there's any feedback from the owners too, I'd be happy to hear that too.
Yeah, so I would say that's actually something we thought of from day one, because we knew a lot of them were going to be obviously virtual, stay at home, weren't going to know each other. And it's really something that we provide to the clients as well. I will tell you, from the administrative side, there is always that level of the executive has to remember everybody's birthdays and if they're feeling included, and are they in a good mood? And so we really try to eliminate that from the client's perspective and provide it internally. So myself and our other relationship manager, we're constantly speaking with the girls. How are things going? What are you seeing? Remembering their birthdays, sending out anniversary cards. We're working right now, our big recognition that Liz actually thought of, we decided to play off of Valentine's Day. And so we haven't really figured out how to pronounce it, but it's basically VA Valentine's Day, if you can figure it out.
I said
got
Valentine's Day.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So that's kind of our big celebration of the team. We're sending out care packages. Last time we sent out like 30 care packages last year nationwide. And so we're trying to keep that culture internally where they know you're not just assigned a client and you're on your own. We're really there to help you with technology tools, clients, having a hard time delegating, whatever it may be. We're their team regardless if they don't see us. But honestly, we use programs like this, like Zoom, so that it creates that personal connection regardless of where they're at.
Wow, that is awesome. That's a big question I'd had just in general, that because I've struggled with the same thing. I've worked with virtual teams, but we usually, they're a big chunk, of our team. They're at least working like 20 to 30 hours, so they're with us enough for us to feel like they're part of the team. And even if they're not, we usually just hire someone who we definitely have a good culture fit with. So even if they're only working for us like 10 hours a week or so, we can, shoot the breeze with them and have a good conversation and whatnot. So that's good.
Well, Danny, to dovetail off what Nicole was saying, from a client's perspective, to make them really feel as part of the culture, because we started noticing that disconnect. I would say about 4 months ago, we're like, there's a disconnect. They don't feel like they're part of the team. They're missing that culture aspect, which is important and can be achieved via, virtual workplace. So what we started doing is creating org charts. So Danny, if you were a client and signed up and you had 3 different roles working for you, before you even started, you're going to get a branded org chart from us with your name and your company name at the top. And then it's going to have everybody working for you. That's a CC My Admin person. And it's going to say your relationship manager, and here's what you use her for, and here's your social media manager. And so now all of a sudden a small business owner gets an org chart, which feels really cool, because now they're like, yes, I have a team, and how do I use them? And here's who I contact and how I do it. And so we have seen, are actually a huge, response, a great response from our business owners with that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's I do org charts when I go into, because usually there's no organization when I go into the organization. And though I will do like an org chart or whatever, but usually I'm just rearranging people who are on their team. So, but that's so clutch, like what you're talking about right now, just because culture is really important to me too. And so as I've been trying to teach people about how to outsource and whatnot, I've also been struggling with how do I also make sure that their culture, extends to this virtual team member. You guys, your organization, you guys can take care of it because they are they are your team. But I can see how that would really help too, a lot, with just making sure that people understand who this is, why they're here. Every time that I have any kind of platform where it's a virtual communication platform like Trello or Slack or something like that, I'm always put your face in that profile picture. Don't where you can put your avatar or your name or whatever. Always make sure you put your face there, because it really is. It's crazy how without that, oftentimes just the connection doesn't happen.
We're going to steal that from you, Danny. I like that.
All right, good. Yeah. It's so important. It's so important.
I know that is true.
Who I see once a month. I'll be put your name in the Trello. I use Trello with all of my clients. So, well, cool. So I want to ask you a little bit about as far as the types of things that people are delegating. What are some of your top things that your CC admins are taking off the plate of other entrepreneurs?
That's a hard question, because every business is so different. I would say, our most popular would be inbox management is huge, calendar management, just answering phones and responding to leads. Those are huge, because a lot of times there are leads in the inbox or on the voicemails that just aren't being responded to.
Yeah.
And so that's how they leverage that person. So, we say, we're here so you can be out there. So the idea is that we are at the desk working for you. So you're going out and getting more clients. You're doing what you do best. So I would say, CRM management is another huge one, making sure those drip campaigns are constantly being filled and going out. Nicole, am I missing something? You may know.
No, I think administrative is kind of our bread and butter, but there's always those one-offs that, like she said, that are just operational support that are needed. And honestly, just candidly, we get some unique requests and, we're able to not, just kind of oh, I hadn't thought that that's a need in a business. Okay. Yeah, we can find that, and thankfully we've always been able to find assistants that have somewhat of that experience, or maybe are experts in a certain program that a client is looking for. And so that's really how we kind of try to source.
Very cool. What is something like, so you guys, I'm sure, are aware of platforms like Upwork or other like kind of freelance platforms. How do you guys compete with those big guys?
So with companies like Upwork or Fiverr, we have actually heard, we went to lunch with a client recently, and he said, what I love about you guys is like, I don't have the time to like vet out people on Upwork, take in all the bids, decide who really has the best, and then trust them. We're like the one-stop shop. So you call your relationship manager if you're already with us, or you call one of our sales reps, and we problem solve for you, right? So we understand tell me what your pain points are, and then we can tell you, here's what your human capital needs are, and then we service them. Fiverr and Upwork are going to be more project-based, which we also do, but we really focus on creating and honing strong teams for businesses. So that would be my answer to that.
That's good. And that's kind of what my thought was too, but I wanted to hear it from you guys. What about, like, do you have oftentimes, or does it happen often that people who are one of your admins, like will one of the people who you place them with will want to hire them full time?
Yeah, it happens. And it happens sometimes. I wouldn't say it's kind of rare.
Okay.
But what we do is we always say, like, we're never going to keep your business from going in the direction you want it to. And we're not going to keep a virtual assistant if they have an opportunity or a desire to go on full time. I mean, we'll waive our non-compete and we'll do a sourcing fee for them and move on like that.
Gotcha.
But most of the time we price in a way that is cheaper than bringing on someone directly. So even if they get to the point where they want to bring them on directly, it really doesn't make a ton of sense because they're paying for only productive hours. And if they bring them on as an employee, they're now paying them, the standard 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and they don't see the cost savings.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So one question that I always run into a lot, and honestly, even myself at points, when do you know when it's time to delegate work?
Nicole, you can answer that one if you want, because you're seeing it from a client VA perspective.
I mean, I would say that to me, just the general answer would be when it's taking you away from doing things that are revenue generating is just a simple idea. So if you're finding, man, I can't, and we get stuck in this where it's like, oh, I can't get out to go to events or anything because I've got so much I'm behind on internally, whether it's payroll or, whatever the case may be, that you got to stay home. And now you're essentially not building your business because you're trying to just keep it afloat administratively.
Yes, like when you find that when you're the bottleneck to anything, you're failing to outsource or delegate.
That's good. Do you guys deal with a lot of people who are solopreneurs, or would you say that you find more people who have like maybe one or two people or a couple of people on their team and they're looking to get more, or do you have a lean one or the other?
I'd say we're 30 to 40% solopreneurs, and then we range anywhere from 1 employee to 75.
Gotcha. Okay. And what kind of like what kind of rates, I guess, would people expect? Let's just say like you're solopreneur and you're looking to make, your first hire, or your first, CC admin. What should someone expect to pay for that?
So if you're doing a direct hire, there's a lot of things you need to consider, which would be, one, obviously base rate. What did I tell the person that they're going to make hourly? The second is I'm going to pay taxes on that. And the third is they're probably going to want, like if I want them to retain, I'm going to have to pay 401k, benefits, vacation, holiday. All of that goes into what we call total comp for an employee. And that's going to be anywhere between 30 to 40, 50% of what you're actually paying the employee.
Okay.
With us, we took all of that and we lined it up and we said, okay, we want to be the same rate or cheaper than if someone was going to hire directly. So our rates are going to be anywhere from 25 to 45, depending on an hour, depending on the type of role that you want.
Okay.
But again, that's all you're paying for, right? And you're only paying for productive hours. So what might seem $30 an hour might seem high to people. Yeah. But ultimately, if they start looking at where they're really going to pay total comp out the door, it's going to be more than what it would be with us.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what's difficult is, like, especially when you're first starting a business, is that like figuring out, first of all, what your time is worth, and then how much of that are you willing to basically share in order to get what you think is going to be a better result, you know? And I do think that there's some degree of like a leap of faith, if you will, you know, kind of when you do that first hire, whether even if it's you taking them on yourself or if it's using, you know, someone like you guys, sees my admin. There's got to be like some type of just decision to like, okay, I think that this is going to be best for my company, and then kind of trust fall in that direction.
I tell this to people all the time. You have to trust the process. You have to trust that if you remove work that you could be outsourcing, that's like low value task, and you focus on high value, you have to trust that input is going to create an output that's greater. And it will. It just will.
Cool. Well, that's all the questions that I've gotten. We're also getting close to time, but I really would like to make sure, like, you know, what are some things that you guys would want to share that maybe we didn't talk about? Because you guys, I feel like you're so knowledgeable. I feel like I have so much I could learn from you guys. Is there anything else that you guys want to, you don't think we've talked about that entrepreneurs need to be hearing?
Okay. So what I would say is we're entrepreneurs too. And so it's funny. A lot of the things that we hear our clients battling with, we're battling with. I mean, I'm telling people to outsource, and yet I'm telling Nicole, no, it's okay. I'm going to learn how to make a video. I'm going to produce it myself and it'll be awesome. And she's like, no, you're not. That's so dumb. Right. So like we constantly have to like challenge each other. I would say it's really hard to be a business owner, but it's so rewarding. And if you build the right team the right way, I just follow your gut and just do it. I mean, honestly, you just got to trust your instinct and commit fully to what you want to do.
That's good. Do you
Nicole,
guys,
do you have anything?
yeah, Nicole, do you have anything?
The only thing I would say on my side of the house is I think there's a perception sometimes with virtual assistants, like Liz mentioned too, that either they're overseas or maybe they're just, you know, crafty moms at home, but we have exceptionally skilled workers. And they either, I mean, like myself and Liz, you know, they either used to work in corporate, maybe they want a different lifestyle, maybe they're home with kids. I mean, we have paralegals, attorneys, corporate executives that used to work, and, you know, certified project managers that are just wanting a different avenue. And because of technology, we have those avenues available for work. So you can really build a very skilled team for, you know, literally a fourth of the cost of what you would spend if these people were in the traditional workforce. And that's really kind of how we match, is based on what you're trying to build with your company.
Perfect. Do you guys have any books or anything like that you guys recommend that people read?
Oh yes, I love books. Okay, so one that obviously it promotes like everything that we do. It's Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. Have you ever read?
Yeah, that was probably that kicked it off for me.
Yes. And then let me see. Here we go. Well, okay, this is one of my favorites. It's on my desk right here. Winning by Jack Welch. I think he's awesome. That's another really good one. I think would be good for any entrepreneur.
Cool. Nicole, do you have any recommendations?
Oh boy, now you're going to put me on the spot. You know what my podcast is I am super into, I mean, reading version is sadly TV, but I am obsessed with The Prophet on CNBC, and I learn more from that than anything I could probably absorb otherwise due to my ADD. But it's just a really good show about going into small businesses. It's really what we do every day, and what Liz talks to clients every day is, where's that bottleneck? Where are you losing money? What should you be focusing on? So TV side, The Prophet for sure.
That's funny. Everyone always tells me, they're like, Danny, have you seen The Prophet? And I'm like, I don't have regular TV. I'm a Netflix millennial, you know? And so I need to find it somewhere off the internet or.
It's really good.
Everyone's always just like, have you watched that? You need to. This is what you do pretty much. And I was just like,
it's true.
I need to know, because so many times it's been referenced now. So
I'm the same way, Danny. I just had to go to Nicole's house because she has traditional cable. I don't. And so I'm like, we'll record it. I'll come over.
DVR it. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a super exciting interview. I have absolutely geeked out talking with you guys. I'm definitely going to have you guys on again sometime. Do you have anything that you'd like to share with the audience before we sign off? Such as, well, first of all, where can people find you guys on the internet or elsewhere?
So it's www.ccmyadmin.com. CC like carbon copy, myadmin.com. We're on Instagram at ccmyadmin.com, not.com, but just ccmyadmin is our Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We would love to help anybody out there who's kind of struggling with those staffing woes.
Sweet. Awesome. And do you guys have anything else you want to know? Any events or anything like that you guys want to shout out to? Not that I have like a huge listenership, but you know.
Not right now. We don't have any events coming up, but we'll definitely keep you posted. And I love the name of your podcast, by the way.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. That was on the last job I got hired for as a W-2 employee. That was on it. And that was the kicker for me. I was like, I do love organizing chaos.
Yeah.
And so when I thought about my podcast name, I'm not like a terribly like creative person in the traditional sense. I say I'm a creative problem solver. But when I was thinking like, what's my podcast name going to be? It took me like 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, Organizing Chaos. That's it.
That's amazing. Very cool.
Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate you both being on the show. And yeah, thank you everyone else for listening. If you are interested in having them, or if you want to reach out to CSM Admin, be sure to give them a visit at their website. You can also shoot me an email if you're interested in being interviewed on my show, or you have a question or topic you'd like to see unpacked on the show. I'd love to talk to you. Shoot me an email, danny@dannycoleman.me. You can find me on Instagram at @IamDannyColeman. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you later.
Want more? Go to dannycoleman.me to download Danny's free small business hiring guide, which includes tips, templates, and tools, plus a step-by-step process you can use to find and keep high-quality employees for your small team or business.